out there somewhere, alone and frightened.
My name is Dr. Grace Mwamstewne. I would like to share with you my personal recollections from a WCC study that was conducted in May and June this year, 2022, in Uganda, Kawempe area, concerning a faith congregation's response to HIV-related stigma. And the members of the congregation constituted the clergy, laity, who were the main women and youths in that congregation, and also outside people, the prostitutes, persons affected by HIV, and gender-based violence. A case study research design was adopted for the study. I'm raising 10 issues accompanied by suggestions on the way forward. 1. Different categories of persons experience different stigma-related challenges, and we need different approaches and responses. Suggestions: sensitivity in identification, research, planning, and implementation of the strategies. Capacity building of the leaders, for example, the clergy, who are usually transient and who provide leadership for the different faith congregations, plus other leaders of different sectors. 2. New groups of persons experiencing stigma. There are new kids on the block, like the prostitutes, men having sex with men, and others. We need to accept that these have arrived on the block, they are different from us, and they are not bothered whether we accept them or not. We have to learn to do new things and ensure provision of safe places for all. 3. Issues of poverty, inequality, stigma, and HIV are complex and interrelated. But normally, strategies of addressing them are compartmentalized on small scale, localized, and not sustainable. We need to recognize the multidimensionality of issues and how these different socioeconomic and health issues interplay with each other. Therefore, strategies of addressing the multidimensional and complex issues need to be holistic and calling for a multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder approach. And we need policy formulation, streamlining of strategies. 4. A single faith congregation or community is too small and fragile to effectively and sustainably handle a complex and multidimensional challenge by itself. There is no single strategy or organizational response that can work as a standalone solution. We need continuous dialogue, action, and reflection among the different stakeholders. 5. The trainings are usually centralized using a blueprint methodology. We need to adopt a community-based, need-tailored, and user-friendly training approach. And the training materials need to be locally acceptable, simple in the local language, and age-appropriate. 6. Lack of involvement of the very vulnerable victims we are trying to help. These vulnerable categories of persons are hurting but active, exposed to different sources of information, and have survived in their environments for a long time. They know what works and what does not work for them. We need continuous dialogue with these target populations and engagement of these target populations. 7. Our faith teachings sometimes are out of context. We need to copy Jesus' style of teaching using parables, for example, the Good Samaritan and the lost sheep. We need to deepen contextualization of the faith teachings. 8. The hardest hit persons, most vulnerable, are unreached, isolated, and invisible. Then who are we serving? The core mission of our faith-based activities is the growth area at best. It needs overhauling. We need to strengthen faith-based reach-out programs and use all available platforms to create awareness about the vices. This is our collective responsibility. Let us all raise our voices to campaign for the reduction of inequality, stigma, and HIV. Teaching all dogs new tricks, that's point 9. Young people and adolescents are left out of the HIV stigma reducing programs. Our programs of reducing inequality, stigma, and HIV are unsustainable if you are leaving out young people. We need to target and include young people and adolescents in and out of school in all inequality, stigma, and HIV reduction programming. That calls also for capacity building for teachers in their various higher institutions of learning. And 10, religious interventions still are very low, particularly in isolated areas like the areas of prostitutes. We need to strengthen faith, age-appropriate engagement of adults and young populations in isolated areas. All in all, 3 points to note. The impact of social cultural values and practices cannot be underrated. Faith community leaders influence values, attitudes, and behaviors of practices for a balanced and safe to live in society. 2, there is need to form and strengthen synergies from a cross-section of sectors in our society to make our various communities or contexts safe places for all persons affected by inequality, stigma, and HIV. And lastly, we live in a changing world. Unprecedented challenges call for unprecedented responses. Ciao.